welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Wednesday evening edition. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat. uh, we have on deck, all four of us will be on deck today, but we're going to have two in the first hour, half an hour, and four in the second half hour. This evening, we have Esau Al, Mr. Allan Lengel, Deadline Detroit, and the
What's up?
host. Good evening, Allan. How are you?
Good. I'm good. It's cold out today. I was surprised how cold it was.
Man, it is cold. It is.
Yeah.
It is cold today. Long day today too.
Cold indeed.
Yes. So, listen. Are you listening? If you are watching Detroit in Black and White, you already know what we want you to do. Like, subscribe, and share. You know, to subscribe is free. It costs nothing but free. We want you to like, subscribe, and share. And if you so desire, not only can you participate in the comment section, you can also use this QR code with your camera, this link with your camera and come on into the room. We enjoy you guys. We want you to interact with us. We have a special guest on deck. I want to give a shout out to Mr. 1213, Edward Alt, DeWayla Boyce, and everybody else. Queen B, hey y'all. Hey girl, what's up? Mike Bunch, hey, how are you? Listen, we want you to enjoy this evening. If you want to ask a question, if you want to join in the conversation, you could come on in the room. Good evening, Dominique. You can catch Detroit in Black and White on all social media platforms. All right, Allan.
Okay. I just want to say before we bring on our guests, I watched some of the State of the Union with our governor, and it was just such a contrast between last night with Donald Trump, which was just like insane. It was just a total insanity there. And then today, where Gretchen Whitmer turns to the speaker, who's Republican, and says, "I want to thank Speaker Hall for helping bring this road bill together, this bipartisan effort," and they shake hands, and people are clapping, and it was just such a different. I mean, last night, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the.
I didn't, because I want you to explain to us what you mean by insane. I did see some highlights. And there were some things that I saw that he said that I thought was I was like, okay, that makes sense. But again, I only saw some highlights. I didn't see the full context. So,
I would say he was very antagonistic toward the Democrats. The Democrats were, a lot of, CNN did a lot of fact checking. A lot of the stuff was not factual about the economy, telling people how great the economy is, how great prices are, and stuff like that. And clearly, if you go grocery shopping, you're just stunned sometimes by the prices that are, that you're like, wait a minute, I paid $2-3 less for a thing of mayonnaise or whatever. But it got, he was setting them up too, so he say, well, if you believe that America's mission is to protect its citizens before illegal aliens, please stand up. So the Democrats didn't stand up, and he goes, shame on you. It was a setup. But, to say that, I get why the Democrats, some people said, well, maybe the Democrats should have stood up. But I guess the Democrats didn't stand up because what they're doing to enforce immigration laws is they're stepping over the line. We've seen 2 Americans killed. And so I think nobody in the Democratic side wanted to condone that. But so it was very antagonistic. And at some point, I can't remember the Texas lawmaker from, the Texas lawmaker had a sign that said, blacks are not apes or something like that. So he was kicked out. And then Rashida Tlaib and Omar were screaming at him when he was attacking. He talks about the Somalians and talks about them as all as one. They're all criminals. They're all bad people. And they were yelling back. So it was just it was ugly. Mm-hmm. But tonight was like, in comparison, a love fest. So
I did see where he said something about for those people that are self-employed, the government will set up something where they can pay their own money into a retirement fund, which I thought was pretty interesting. Again, I have not seen the whole thing. Maybe this weekend I'll get a chance to watch it and do a comparison. I think it will be a bit unfair for me to really dive into it because like I said, I didn't watch it last night. As you know what I'm doing. I'm busy campaigning. Um,
Right.
and like this evening, when I got in, I had to fix myself some dinner. But I teach on Wednesday, so
Mhm.
I haven't had a time to watch both. But let me read a couple of comments, and then you can bring our guests in because
All
we don't want them to
right.
think that we're ignoring them. Duela says, "Good evening, all finger red number one. Good evening, Detroit." Edward All Mr. 1213 said, "Good evening, Queen B, Mike Bunch, Dominique, Marie Overall. Hey, Stephanie said, good evening. She said, unification is insane. Dems wouldn't even stand for the murder victims by undocumented illegals. Shame on you." Jill Sheridan says, hello, everyone. How are things going in Detroit? Ira Todd said, good evening, Vanessa and Allan. Queen B says, the Democrats are performative, particularly Rashida Tlaib. I agree with Uncle Al. But if I'm honest, I am ready for her to do something besides act an ass. Whoa. Janet Overall said, good evening, everyone. Let's go, Vanessa and Allan combo. Miles Wilson. Felicia Dean said, good evening. Marlon Holt says, dim party is whack. Jill Sheridan said, hey, Marlon. Jill Sheridan says, set aside 2 hours. She's telling me to set aside 2 hours. Janet Saluk said, hello, my peeps. Hey, Janet. Tamika Rainey, good evening. Janet Overall, follow the assignment she shared. Eric Brown said, good evening. Just getting in from my school board meeting. And Queen B is 100% correct. And I think he is making a comment about Rashida Tlaib. Hopefully, we'll be able to have the opportunity to talk about. Uh, uh, I have my opinion about Rashida Tlaib. I think that she came into this office, the office that she has, and she told people what she was about, and she stuck to it. I also think she's very smart because people are in the 13th district, and I'm in the 13th district. That a lot of people don't like Sri Thanadar, and what has she done? She has decided that she would support his opponent, which is different because usually people will support somebody but not out loud. So the fact that she's aligned herself with him, I find it quite interesting.
Right. Well, there's probably a little tension going on between her and Shri. I think Rashida, I mean, she has a lot of progressive views, and she's, done some good things, but I think
Like
also,
what?
uh, well, I think she's been concerned about housing, and things like that. But I think that the thing that bothers me is that I was excited about the idea of a Palestinian Congress member going to Washington, and I would hope that she would try to work with the other side to try to create peace in the Middle East and work on that. But I feel like she's just a flamethrower. She hasn't really been very constructive in trying. It's a very contentious issue, obviously, and she hasn't really done much to. In my opinion, I mean, there are people in her district, in the 12th district, appreciate that she's very vocal, and they say, "You're my hero, and thanks for speaking out." But what she's doing is not really constructive. It's not. I mean, look at the Middle East. She hasn't done. I mean, things aren't getting better because of her. They've all, she's inflamed things more, and I criticize her for that. I wish she
So
would do more.
right, that goes to your one of our viewers' statement that she's performative. She does the performance. I remember when the former president Joe Biden came into town, and she met him on the tarmac out there at the airport with the sign. It's always something with her, and to me, it was a performance. But again, I'm asking you, what did she do? I mean, other than make a scene, what has she done? Now, I do think that she goes to work. I believe that she goes to work and she places her votes and those kind of things. And she does answer the phone when people in her district call. She does that. She does do the mailing, And by the way, the mailing, is on us. We're paying for it. She does do those things, but in terms of how people in this area feels about her, a lot of people are not. A lot of people are not happy with her at all. And so I think that everything that she does, in terms of like supporting Donovan, I think it has so much to do with. Listen, I'm with you guys. There's somebody else that she's endorsing. Who's she endorsing for? Gosh, I can't remember. I read it was somebody else that she's endorsing. I want to say the opponent in the Secretary of State race. I want to say she's supporting Garland Gilchrist. I might be wrong. I'll look it up, but I just think it's just very, very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we bring on our guest for the evening, our special guest. There she is. Her name is, and I'm going to work on this with my Eastern European background, Suzanna Shkreli. Am I close?
Oh, it's close, Allan. It's close. Susanna Shkreli.
Shkreli. Okay.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
Well,
You are a Democratic candidate. I'll give a little bit of background information here. You're a Democratic candidate running for the Secretary of State. You had served as a Macomb County assistant prosecutor for, was it 8 years, maybe?
That's correct.
Deputy legal counsel in Governor Whitmer's administration, Michigan's child advocate, director of juvenile justice reform, and commissioner of the Michigan State Lottery. So you've got quite a resume there. I guess the most obvious question is why the Secretary of State? What motivates you to toss your hat in the ring here?
Well, Allan and Vanessa, thank you so much for having me this evening. And I'm sorry for any background noise. I have been traveling the state today, and this was my final stop, and I wanted to make sure that that I had the opportunity to talk to you. But let me talk to you about me. I am the proud daughter of Albanian authoritarianism in the Balkans, and I grew up believing in the American dream, believing in democracy, and my parents came. Like I tell everybody.
Oops.
Oh, we lost her.
All right, we have lost her. Maybe we'll hopefully.
Maybe she get back in. She had bad connection because
she was a little bit
going
I think she was trying to say she's I think a first generation Albanian, and I think there's a fairly good sized Albanian population here in Metro Detroit. In fact, the hair place I go to in Royal Oak, Main Street, Alex and Emilio. Alex is Albanian, and the woman who cuts my hair is Albanian. But so there is a significant, I think, particularly in Macomb County, also there are a lot of.
Well, I think it's interesting. She was a Macomb County prosecutor. I'm looking, but the screen on this device is small. Like, does she even look familiar? I don't know if she's looks familiar to me or not. But I think she has a very interesting resume. And I can't wait for her to come back on. Hopefully she'll come back on because I have some questions that I want to ask her.
Right. I think her last job may have been as the commissioner of the Michigan State Lottery, but let's clarify that with her, what she's doing. But I guess she's on the road and found the place to do a hotspot. But anyways, anything else that, like I said, if we,
she
is returned.
What happened?
Okay, you had a bad connection there.
Yeah, the connection is kind of.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, we're having a shaky connection there. I don't know if you want to go to another part of the building where you're at, or.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Yeah.
Can you hear me better?
We can hear you, but it's
Okay, now we see your eyes moving, so you're not frozen. At least for the moment.
No,
now she's frozen again. Susanna, is there a way maybe you can move to another part of the building where you're at to get a better Wi-Fi connection there, or we'll try again. But in the meantime, I mean, last night it was just. I mean, we expect it now, and some of the Republicans complained. There were people yelling out, Rashida Tlaib and Omar from Minnesota was yelling things, and and some of the Republicans on CNN afterwards.
How does that solve anything, though? I'm not trying to be funny.
It doesn't, but I think it's just the frustration you can see. I mean, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Screaming your pillow at home.
Yeah. Yeah,
Screaming your pillow at home.
yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene yelled stuff when Biden gave speeches. You know, they'd yell stuff like,
Same for her. I'm sorry, it's wrong.
it's rude. I mean, you know what? It gets to the point. Probably the best thing to do is one like Debbie Dingle just said, I can't participate in the circus. She said she watched from home, and then she commented on X about what. And I think probably the best thing to do is, I mean, if you really want to protest, I think what's going on is some of the outrageous stuff with the Justice Department, with. But if you don't, you know, you can walk out. You can stay silent. I think it's very frustrating to hear somebody who's not telling the truth, but walk out. You know, just ignore the guy. Let the Republicans have their night where they're clapping for everything, whether it's true or not. I mean, that's the problem. Is I think Donald Trump is ADD, so I think he has a hard time.
Wait. Have you seen a diagnosis? Are you a doctor now?
Yes, I am. I play one on the internet.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
So let me just say that I think he's incapable of reading much. So he makes up stuff, and people don't. You know, his followers.
And
don't
Allan, you know, I'm gonna challenge you on that because he's not the only one who makes up stuff. He's not the only
But
president.
no president has ever made up more stuff than he.
How you know? You wasn't living when George Washington.
I watched all. Yeah, that's true.
You don't know that.
Look,
you do not know that.
I am ageless. I have been there. I've seen them all.
You do not know that. And guess what? Back then, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have social media. They didn't have anything. They had to do, because I wasn't here either, is rely on what the press said would happen.
They didn't have fact checkers on CNN. There was the link after the Lincoln speech. They didn't cut to CNN and say, "Let's."
Right.
So Susanna's back. Susanna.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You're great. Now you look great on there. You're coming through really clear. So
Yes.
One of the people asked, what was your last job that you had?
Yes. So Allan, so I'm so sorry. So yes, you were asking me why Secretary of State. I just left the lottery position. I served as the Michigan State Lottery Commissioner, and so I oversaw a statewide agency, eight regional offices, over 200 employees. Our entire job there was to maximize revenue to the school aid fund, and so I have statewide executive leadership. I also served as deputy where I handled emergency management. And unfortunately, we saw a number of emergencies during the first term, especially. And one of those things that I got to work on was the meeting of the electors in 2020. And so I got to see kind of front row the rise in extremism as it relates to our electoral system. And we pushed back against the fake electors, and we were able to deliver on the governor's responsibility, which was to deliver the presidential electors to the National Archives. And I've served as a prosecutor for nearly a decade, and I've stood up to the worst kind of crimes and taken on the worst bullies. I mean, I've defended children who've been killed, abused. And so I think we're going to need somebody who's tough, who's got my track record to stand up against what's coming with all this conversation about nationalizing elections. And I think I'm the perfect candidate for this, especially for this time. Emergency management experience, statewide executive leadership experience, and prosecutorial experience, because we're going to need to take it to Trump in the courtroom where it matters most.
Okay.
Well, I have a couple of questions for you. I asked you one. I guess Allan asked you one, and I'll ask you my next one. My first question is, how will you ensure the continued security and accuracy of the Michigan elections, including the handling of voters' registration records? And I asked that because there's a lot of conversation about voter ID. So can you answer that question for us?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I think the narrative about voter ID needs to change, right? Like you see when you're watching CNN, Fox, whatever news agency, they have this percentage that says this amount of percentage of Democrats are for voter ID. This amount of percentage of Democrats are Republicans are for voter ID, but you all are not. And I said, do you know what happens when you go to vote? They ask you for your license, and if you don't have your license, you sign something called a personal an affidavit of personal identity and you sign it, which carries with it the penalty of perjury. And so if that's not voter ID, I don't know what is, right? And so I think the narrative needs to change. We have voter ID, and anything in excess of what is happening right now is really just an attempt to suppress the vote and disenfranchise voters, especially with the SAVE Act, which is not needed. It's a solution in search of a problem. And so pushing back against the administration when they're trying to come for our voter rolls and telling them to go pound sand is exactly what I'll do as Secretary of State. I mean, just because they want information doesn't mean they're entitled to it. There's a lot of personally identifying information that they don't have access to and they shouldn't have access to. And so I will do everything I can as Secretary of State to work with the Attorney General, as I have in the past, to push back against any attempt to get our information.
Let me ask you if a grade that you would give Jocelyn Benson in terms of the job that she's done, and what do you think you could do better?
Yeah, so look, she's done a good job at making advancements and bringing, modernizing the office. For example, the appointments process is something that folks love, and I would like to keep that. But you're not guaranteed service if you walk in, and I think that's a problem. We need to, it's a government agency, and not everyone can navigate systems the same way. And I want to bring government and meet people where they're at. And so if somebody needs something on a Monday and they walk in on a Monday, they should be able to get what they need. And so I want to expand walk-in hours for everybody, but especially for seniors and for folks with disabilities that needed additional assistance. I want to deliver on a digital driver's license. There's over 20 wallets on their phone, and so folks want that we should be able to. And I want to expand on mobility units. So I'm here, mothers, grandmothers. How
You're breaking up a little bit, Suzanna. You're breaking up a little bit.
Yep. So I'm going to move a little bit, but I've been traveling the state. And I'm hearing from people. Look, it's nice to be able to go to be in Kroger and to go to the kiosk and to get to renew my license. How are we meeting people where they're at? The people. That's something I definitely stand on as Secretary of State.
Okay.
So I want to. We need to cut to commercial to break, Allan. I'm sorry. We'll cut to break and then we'll come back. And Allan, you can ask your question. Then I want to follow up on the voter ID. Detroit Black.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White, our midweek edition. Allan Lengel, he has a question. Go ahead, Allan.
I do want to get back to what Vanessa's asking as well, but Lieutenant Garland Gilchrist is now running, and we know the party is basically, it seemed like there was a deal made, like drop out of the governor's race, we'll take care of you. For people who don't know, the Secretary of State position there is no primary. You're selected at the party, the Democratic Party convention, and by delegates there. And also, do you feel like Garland Gilchrist is already anointed to the position, or how does that work in terms? You can go around to everybody, but in the end, you have to get the delegates at the convention.
That's right. So look, I mean, Yeah, I mean, it feels a little bit like a coronation, and I don't think that's what Democrats want. And look, this office is too important to be a consolation prize for anybody, right? We know that the lieutenant governor wants to be governor. He's let us know. He doesn't want this job. And so we need somebody who wants to be there because there's a lot at stake in what's coming in 2028. We need somebody ready day one to get the clerks ready to push back against these attempts to continue to undermine our election. We have to be ready for anything, physical intimidation at the polls, misinformation, disinformation, and you're going to need a strong Secretary of State who's got a clean track record of standing up and protecting rights. That's exactly what I've done throughout my career. And again, it's just too important to go to somebody who doesn't really want to be there. And I want to be there. I want to be Secretary of State. I want to serve. I want to make government more accessible for people. And that's what I'm going to deliver on.
So I want to follow up on that. I had several questions that I wanted to ask you, but I want to follow up on the voter ID. It seems to me that this whole push for voter ID, so that people could prove that they're citizens of the United States, it seems to me that it comes out of the fact that you have some states that have allowed people to get driver's license, right? And they're not citizens of the United States. And so they're able to get driver's license because they work on a farm and they doing this kind of work. And so how is it that the integrity of elections are protected if all you have to do, and I'm asking out of ignorance because I don't know, if all you have to do is show your driver's license? Because like you, somebody asked me that question. I said, listen, I show my ID when I go to vote. So what do you say to that?
Yes. So look, I think to the extent that there is situations where, people shouldn't be voting, it's not to the extent where we have to throw out our system, right? It's so nominal that it's, of course, there's human error in the system, but to suggest that, and the SAVE Act does more than just you got to prove citizenship. It makes it very hard for people. If you're a married woman, you have to go and track down your birth certificate. Then you have to take it to the clerk and you have to prove your citizenship. And then the clerk is tasked with verifying that document. And so who is that impacting? It's impacting women who've gotten married. It's impacting transient people. It's impacting the trans community. It's impacting folks that don't have access to documents, right? And so look, I've been in the system since I've been in high school, since I've been able to register. I'm a citizen. I have my passport. I have my birth certificate. Now you're going to ask me to go find it now again and approve. And so it's really a solution in search of a problem. And we have time and time again in the state, especially in Michigan, right? We have clerks that are verifying our systems. We have the courts that are holding time and time again that our systems are working just fine. We even had a Republican-led commission who investigated the 2020 election, Ed McBroom, and guess what he said? No evidence of widespread voter fraud. So why do we need now this solution in search of a problem that we don't have, except to suppress the vote and except to make it hard for people? Because if I have to chase down my documents and I have to go and prove now something that I've proved years ago, people are going to throw their hands up in the air and say, I don't have time for this. And that's not what we voted for. We expanded access to the ballot box on purpose in 2018 with the Promote the Vote. We voted for early day voting. We made a conscious decision as Michiganders to make voting for all eligible voters easy. And this is just an attempt to suppress the vote. That's all it is. And I'm not in favor of it.
How well versed are you on election law? I know that there were questions in 2020 over what should be counted, what shouldn't be counted, and Jocelyn Benson had to make some rulings. How well versed are you, and how well versed you need to be the Secretary?
Yeah, having worked with the State's office, I have some election experience. Is we're going to require a strong leader, someone who's able to navigate resources within state government, somebody who's ready to be ready to an emergency, the wherewithal and the litigation management strategy to push back against Trump in the courtroom. And I am ready to do that. I've done that before in my various capacities. I've worked with the Attorney General's office, and I'm ready to do it again now as Secretary of State to protect the Constitution, to protect your vote, and then also deliver on customer service for folks. Because this office, as much as it is about elections, it's also about making the lives of Michiganders easier, getting licenses to folks, campaign finance database, having people appeal their license, or things that this office oversees, and I think the perfect fit for it.
Okay.
We
Well,
have a question from Queen B. Can we
okay.
go to we have quite a few questions, so hopefully you'll go back and watch the show and read the questions. But Queen B asked a question. She says, if elected, when you are provided with proof of notary fraud, are you going to address and prosecute it? Our current Secretary of State does not, and homes in Detroit are being stolen.
Yes. I've been hearing about this issue as it relates to deeds in the city. I want to apply the law equally to everybody. I want to investigate whether it be campaign finance issues on Republicans and Democrats. Everybody needs to be held accountable. And to the extent that there's fraud with Notary Public, it needs to be investigated. I've been an investigator, I've been a regulator, and I'm ready to do that as Secretary of State and make sure that the law is applied equally to everybody.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to get you back again, and hopefully we'll get a better connection there. But we did well under the circumstances. Oh, that's okay. Where are you right now? You say you're campaigning?
Yeah, you know what? I'm in Clinton Township. And Queen Bee, that's a yes. I am going to prosecute. I'm going to work to hold everybody accountable. So I see your questions and your comments in the space.
Okay.
And I am someone who's always followed the law, and that's exactly who I am. So I'm in Clinton Township, wrapping up my day. We started in Eaton County. We went to Allegan County. Then I went to Warren, and now I'm wrapping up in Clinton Township. So I'm meeting people where they're at every single day. Yeah, busy day.
So again, Suzanna, say your last name so I don't mess it up.
Shkreli. Suzanna Shkreli.
Shkreli. Okay, she's running for
so much.
Secretary of State. We'll have to have you on again. The convention's, I think, April 19th, the Democratic Convention. So anyways,
that's right. And folks have to register by March 20th. We'll see you.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to address some of the people who are saying, are criticizing her for going after Trump, criticizing Trump on the election. I think what we saw in 2020 is that particularly Trump and his minion were attacking Detroit elections and trying to basically invalidate the election in the city of Detroit. And now he's talking about nationalizing, taking away the rights, which is a constitutional violation, wants to nationalize elections and take away the rights of states to run their elections and stuff like that. So I think it's a fair criticism. And if you find that it's bullshit, then you haven't been following anything what's been going on in terms of we want fair elections. The winner should be the winner. We're not trying to fix the election, but we also don't want people, casting constant shade and saying that Detroit is crooked. There was no evidence that the Detroit elections were crooked in either 2020, 2024. And so I think it's a legitimate thing. The Secretary of State is here to protect our elections and make sure that all our votes are counted correctly.
So we've been joined by Jim Nardone. Hey, Jim.
Good evening. I would just like to say, if I could really quickly before you move on, we've got some great comments, and I appreciate all the common sense comments. I appreciate the people's independence and their thinking logically out there and a common sense approach from a lot of you. Hello, Marlon. I see you. I'm glad to see you, and Queen Bee and Cashmere, and some of the points that were made are excellent. Thank you.
We're also being joined by Adolph. You want to finish reading some of the comments, Jim?
Sure.
Okay.
Hello, Edward. Thank you. Have you been paying attention? There's proof of election fraud in Detroit. Queen Bee, Eric Brown, she's running on a beat Trump mandate, and that makes no sense and won't be on the 26th ballot. What about me, Pisces? Yes, Pisces 28, lovable. Thank you for your comments. Great comments. 32 in chat hit for free to share informative show. Miss Sheila. Hello, Miss Sheila. We talked about you the other night when you weren't on. You have to go back and check it out. Queen Bee's been providing information to Benson, and she has provided information to Benson. She's done nothing. Law doesn't need to be equally applied. It needs to be enforced. Notaries are falsifying documents. Clinton Township, Pisces, we're way out there in Clinton Township. We're glad you're in tonight. And Cashmere, good to see you. Goodbye, Susie. So Susie, that's a no. Win our minds over Susie. James. Hello, James Chakowski. Running on Get Trump. Geez. Well, there's a lot of that going on there, Kashmir. Marlon wouldn't vote. Everybody got IDs. They wanted 1,200. I think that, I mean, she's an interesting candidate. Dem talking points. Where are your own thoughts on the SAVE Act, Eric? Marlon, I use your form of ID. I can't use your form of ID at the bank. If elected, will you allow people to get driver's licenses as sworn statements only?
You know what? People talking about all this other stuff. People don't go out to vote, period. And as far as whether election fraud, there's been fraud in elections in Detroit, but not the way Donald Trump and them talking about. I can go back to when Clyde Cleveland, the late Clyde Cleveland, ran for county exec and was declared the winner that night against McNamara. And he woke up the next day. The clerk of the city of Detroit threw out 5,000 whatever ballots. The clerk had done that before, and so there has been fraud. But for what Republicans are talking about, that's not that kind of fraud. But I swear that they have manipulated elections.
My question to you and Jim and Allan, when you say there has been fraud, when you say someone throw out the ballot, is that the definition of fraud?
Well, yeah, that's their. They looked at the ballots and they decided that signature wasn't good. And the way they used to have certain ballots, it was going back in the 80s. Yeah, there's always been some manipulation of the ballots. Now, when Kwame beat Freeman Hendricks, Jackie Curry was the clerk, and people say, well, Jackie Curry cheated for Kwame. But if she cheated for Kwame, she was dumb enough not to cheat for herself, so she got her ass beat and got kicked out of office. So when you make those kind of statements, you got to have some proofs. But when Virgil Smith ran against the former prosecutor John O'Hara, the same thing happened. The city clerk threw out several thousand ballots that allowed O'Hara to win. And I say that when you got one person making these decisions, you know, they looking at the ballots and stuff and say, oh, that's not good. That's not that. You know, people going to say that they were winning. They was declared the winner. And then all of a sudden, yeah, Lengel, you're doing this, man. Right. What's up?
I just messed with you. So I just wanted to bring up a point. You know, people are talking about, oh, there were bad ballot, there were dead people voting and stuff like that. You had these conspiracy people who were saying 200,000 dead people voted in Wayne County. What they did is they ran computer checks of names like John Smith would show up dead in Iowa, and it ended up BBC took just a sampling of 33 people who these people said were dead. 28 of them ended up being alive. Another 2 were people who had the same names as their fathers who were dead, and they got the ballots and they thought it was their ballot, so they voted in that. And the last person, the one person who was actually dead, what happened is he voted in early election.
I had them.
And then he died. So it's all bullshit. You know, could there be some dead people? Maybe here and there, but you know, talking about 200,000 or 1,000 is total bullshit. And that's the Trump people trying to cash.
But it's not just the Trump people. There was somebody told me that I voted twice in one election at 2 different addresses. I said, yeah, the other address you looked at, that's an uncle. Oh, you got an uncle with the same name? Yeah, I got an uncle, exact same name. I'm named after an uncle. And when he died and they had an obituary in the paper, people was probably overjoyed. They thought I was dead, but it wasn't. But the bottom line is when people say, oh, Michael Jackson voted, I know 3 Michael Jacksons.
Michael
You
Jackson.
know, and that's at least a common name, Michael Jordan. I know 3 or 4 Michael Jordans.
Right.
And so you got to have some proof that some of these people was dead or fake. But I do stand by my that Clyde Cleveland and Virgil Smith, that when the clerk can throw out all these ballots, James Bradley and what's the name, Jackie Curry, which they did, and they did, and the clerk's office can manipulate some stuff. And I'm not saying that when they said 25,000 votes showed up in Detroit one night, that's not true. That's just not true. So yeah.
So I find it interesting because your account says that when people say that their vote does not count, you just gave us a couple of examples where that is true. I also found it interesting with our guest when I asked her about voter ID, and I asked about there are some states that give driver's license to people who are not here legally. Michigan is one of those states. I remember when the governor announced that that legislation was going to pass. I thought it was very interesting because I made it an open-ended question. Should that be a concern? And she said, she answered the question, but I think that is one of the reasons why you have this push for voter ID, because listen, the president of the United States ran on, listen, we're going to go after illegal immigrants, right? This is just another part of it. And I think by making these, wide-ranging statements really don't get to the heart of the issue. Talk about what the real issue is. Listen, there are states that gave people IDs. They're not documented immigrants. That was probably not a good idea. That's something we need to address because those people can go vote. I mean, when I go and show my ID, and I'm not saying I'm not taking a position one way or the other. What I am saying is that you have to look at it and not act like it doesn't exist. I think that's what bothers a lot of people.
And ain't that many undocumented people getting IDs and voting. Only reason that I'm against them getting driver's license because we had a governor in Illinois, and when he was the Secretary of State, he was basically selling driver's license to folks, and people got these driver's license to drive trucks, and they had all these horrific accidents, and he went to jail. He was, by that time he had been elected governor, and he went to jail. So I don't to give a person an ID to vote, I don't care, but to give somebody a driver's license and they don't have to take a driver's test and stuff. We had one Secretary of State a few years back, office in Highland Park. They had to close it because they was basically selling licenses out of the office. You always gonna have some kind of fraud in anything, but it ain't widespread like these folks are saying. The problem we got with voting, people don't go vote. When you only got 15 or 20%, and you get 20%, and you say, "Oh, that was a lot." We had a hell of a turnout, and half of that was absentee ballots. No, we didn't have a.
So that's why I'm like, why do we even need voter ID when there are a large amount of people who don't even participate in the process? That to me should have been the answer. But Jim, you haven't said anything.
I just want to go back to our friends. They have a voice out there too. Queen Bee talk. Go ahead, Allan.
Can I say something real quick? They did catch a Chinese person.
One person.
University of Michigan. Well, somehow they caught him. I don't know how they did, but there's some ways.
One person. One fucking person. That's all.
Go ahead. All right.
Go ahead, Jim.
I just wanted to read a couple comments. Mike Bunch says, talked about having TDS, and he's proud of it. Thanks, Mike. Mr. Duckett, make ID free if you want voter ID. An immigrant getting a license doesn't make a difference. He talked about the 2000 election, James Jakowski, which was a disaster, of course. And it's interesting that the only people that usually complain about the election are the people that lose the election, like
Right.
the last presidential election. Queen Bee and Kashmir give you a big thumbs up. Vanessa, Trump's spreading a lot of BS. Mike Bunch, okay, he does, and they all do. I don't believe 25,000 votes showed up. However, the idea that dead people are not voting is inaccurate. Queen Bee, there was a hearing in Lansing. Queen Bee says absolutely Adolph, one bad vote is more than enough. Queen Bee, tell him, Allan, Mr. Duckett. We talked about Miss Sheila. I'm sorry you had to go back. I was going to tell you, but so what happens on this show, if you miss a show and we talk about you in the next show, you got to go back and check it out. Thank you for making that tribute to Chester Logan, former police chief in Detroit. There are people voting.
What about Chester Logan?
Go ahead, Adolph.
What about Chester Logan?
It was her tribute to her February tribute a couple of days ago.
Okay, Chester Logan.
We missed it
he was
because
a
we
good
didn't
guy.
get a chance to acknowledge her tribute, and I made it in the next show. And she
Okay, good.
She was just probably doing something important, but it's sad to me that people don't recognize an attempt at voter suppression. Jill Sheridan, good to see you, Jill. James appreciates that the candidate was here to speak, even whether he supports or not. I agree with that, James.
Yep.
I thought she was good. I'd like to hear about her family restaurant and her hockey, but we didn't get to that, unfortunately. Marlon's gone. I hope you're still out there, Marlon. Deed fraud, notaries. Janet's happy to see Adolph. We're all happy. Hey, Par, where have you been? He's agreeing with Eric. Dead people are voting in Detroit. Nobody's done anything about it.
If dead people voting in Detroit, they voting everywhere.
Hey, Janet.
You know what? It's always they throw it out at Detroit, and people fraud. They commit fraud any and everywhere. But I want to see the widespread fraud in voting in Detroit when you can't get 10 people to go to a poll and it's right across the street from them. That's fraud right there. And maybe if we say you can't vote.
Suppression, as far as I'm concerned.
Listen, people suppress their own votes.
Exactly. So, I said voluntary suppression.
Man, it's like going in the casino. I know a guy. He had a habit, and he banned himself from the casinos. But guess what? As soon as he was banned, he went right back into MGM. They let him cash a check, and he won $3,000, and MGM kept it. And he cried. It said, "You didn't ban me; I banned myself." But he was banned. So this is people, they ban themselves and then complain about who gets elected, and they don't like this person on city council or Congress and whatever. Listen, the Trump people know that at this point, the midterms, we'll see in Texas. They say the turnout is that early voting has been Democratic, mostly Democratic, and we'll see what's going to happen because the Republican incumbent is saying if he loses, they're going to lose that seat, whether it's Jasmine Crockett or the other state rep. Or he said Democrat is going to win that seat. So we'll see. That's why they crying voter suppression. They need to take control of some of these states that we're not going to win in. It's just bullshit.
And Jill Sheridan makes a good point. She says, well, now you have the real ID driver's licenses with the gold star. If you don't have proof of citizenship, I don't think they'll issue you one of those. So
I've been paying for the enhanced license for, I don't know, however many years, and I have not used it at all. I guess it's very limited in where you can use it, but it is enhanced plus the real ID. So.
Right. I used it when I went to the dentist in Windsor, but yeah. So
I haven't been to Canada since Canada just said so. Yeah, so I got it, but I don't go to Canada, not Windsor, whatever.
Right. Right.
You know, my days of going to the topless club are past me. So I don't need to go to Wednesday anymore.
To Jason's.
Jason's, I guess that's bottomless and topless. I don't know if it's still open or not.
I went to the theater when I went. I went to Stratford.
Yeah, right,
I didn't
Jim.
go to the
Right,
topless
Jim.
club.
You and your police buddies was over at Jason's. I took some pictures and stuff.
The last time I was in Canada was during the 2011 marathon. I crossed over into Canada, run the marathon. So
That's the last time you've been there?
yes, I believe so.
I haven't been there since 2001.
Wow.
Oh,
But that was only on foot. I haven't been there since 9/11.
Oh, I'll take that back. I didn't count Vancouver as Canada. I was in Vancouver.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So Chester Logan is Miss Sheila's uncle. Thank you for
Okay. I knew I was working for the city when Chester Logan was there as the top cop. Yeah. So
that. Very
yeah,
respected man there.
A little,
he was a good guy.
the Pistons are winning 92-76 against Oklahoma, the top team. You know,
Lengel, you just love a Detroit slappy. You love the Pistons, Red Wings. That's all the same team, and you get disappointed every fucking season.
Yeah, true, but it's a great sports is just another distraction, whether we want to watch Netflix or whatever. I mean, what's going on in the world, you need some distractions.
Why? What's going on? I missed it. What's going on? Did I miss something?
What?
Oh, I don't know. Did I miss something?
Well, we missed the boat from Florida trying to rescue some of their relatives out of Cuba, and the Cuban army sent them back, killed 4. You know, I believe we got a base, Guantanamo Bay. Marines we never gonna leave that base, and they know if they invade Cuba, they're gonna have to either bomb and kill most of the people, because if they invade it with Marines and the army and stuff, they're gonna lose a lot of folks. I'm not saying we can't take the island. What we gonna take? There's nothing to take.
They want the casinos back.
Sugar
Oh
cane.
yeah, they want the casinos, they want the drugs, they want all the shit back.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Wednesday evenings, I am not as lively as I used to be, because Wednesdays is usually a very long day for me. I teach on Wednesday evening, so I come straight in and eat, and then I get ready for the show. So
How many people you flunking? How many people you flunking? Let me see the list.
Say this, Eric had me on Reality Strikes, and he had a group of a couple of us as guests, and we talked about the state of education, and particularly, you know, those who go from high school to college, and how it appeared to me that people are just passed along. By the time they get to college, I was very disappointed the first few semesters at the product that was coming to the university. I will say that I am delightfully thrilled that the students that I have this semester, they are young, they are bright, they are eager. And so the outlook for me on what our future looks like, to me, it's not bleak anymore. It's bright. These are some really, really bright.
This generation, we got some smart people in this generation.
Who do you attribute the change to? Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Allan?
No, I don't attribute it to that. I think that with these students, I think with these students, I think their youthfulness made the difference. You know, a lot of them came straight from high school to college. A lot of the students, because I've talked to them, they come from households. They're not first generation college graduates like I have most of their parents are professionals. It's just a whole different. This semester is just a whole different. Just a whole different vibe. But I'm
So
really
tell our viewers exactly what you're teaching, because I think that's
oh,
important
this
for people to
semester,
understand.
right? This semester I'm teaching juvenile justice and
Undergrad, then.
I'm
Undergrad.
teaching undergraduates. Yeah. In the past, I've taught undergrads and graduates, but this one, these are all undergraduate students over at the University of Detroit Mercy College. So it's a really good. They challenge me, which is
That's
great,
great.
because that's something that you want as an educator. You want your students to challenge you, and that they do.
Is that a criminal?
Allan, who did you teach when you was teaching the courses?
I taught undergrad at University of Maryland. I taught different journalism classes. You know, there were some students are very engaged, and then others could give a shit. And you know, I felt like some of it was karma, because I did sleep in some of my classes, and I had some students sleeping in my class, and I just said to myself, karma. You get it back now, and you don't realize how teachers love to feel engagement, how you want to be challenged, you want to be asked questions and stuff. And for those who don't give a shit and they're sleeping and they don't care, and then they don't hand in their assignment and they lie about it, you know, it's just after a while. I want it to be an easy grader, but some of the
but it's not. I don't watch the last 40 years. My wife go from teaching kindergarten to teaching graduate students at the university. And, you know, I'm telling you, you get some bright students, you get some not so bright students. I remember she had a class she was teaching at Marygrove. She said, could you look over this test? Now, I don't know the subject, early childhood education. He was going to give her a test, and she wanted me to make sure there was no typos or whatever. I said, can I take the test? And you know, it's a multiple choice. I said, but I figured it out. She had more B's and C's than she had A's and D's. And I got 90 on the test. She said, oh, shit. I got to make a new test. And when she came back after she graded the second test, she said only 2 people passed. She said she made it so hard, and then she blamed me because they said that test was so hard. You know, it's like I'm trying to figure out it's like taking the SATs. I tell people, you take the SATs, do not leave any other questions blank. Because the guess, you got 50-50 chance of getting the right answer.
So my question
go
to
ahead.
you, Vanessa, and Allan taught undergrad was, have you been teaching? You've been teaching a higher level class, and now you're back to the, you know, freshmen and sophomore.
Well, I had an advisor in grad school where she hated undergrad. He did not want to teach undergrads. And at Wayne in grad school, I don't know what they do now, but they had undergrads and grads in some of the same classes.
That's what
I
was
saying. That was Deborah Harris.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Adolph. I didn't. Go ahead, Adolph.
That's all right. Go ahead.
And Mr. 40 Scratch, Bread and Circus, we're talking about the issues. Thanks for tuning in. A hot mess, Queen Bee. Artistically Mavericks. Hello to you. Some viewers or some viewers that changed their name, whichever. Go Pistons. We got an Allan from one educator to another. Thanks, Miss Vanessa. That's Miss Sheila. So my question was more based on, you know, is somebody that's been in school for 3 or 4 years less interested and less engaging and less encouraging than maybe a freshman at U of D? That was
I couldn't be an instructor because I would I don't know. You get the last word on this, Vanessa.
Well, I will say that, you know, I don't know if you, Jim, Allan, the rest of the people in Detroit Black and White know this, but when I first started, I was so disappointed. I thought about, you know, I'm not going back. And it was Jody Dr. Jonella Mongo, who took me out to eat and encouraged me to stay the course. And I'm glad that I did. People need to understand that when you're doing this on a graduate level, you're not making the money. This is more of community service, actually. You're giving back to the community, because what you get in the stipend is, maybe enough to put gas in your vehicle. But again, I like the fact that I see some light in these young folks. And you get
Well,
you need to see that. When you get to be 6 and a deuce, you want to see that.
you know that
Talking about your
reminds
age.
me of Vanessa.
Huh?
When I did the first interview with Vanessa, she looked at the deer in headlights. She could and the producer on my radio show pulled me to the side and say, "Man, you sure she's an attorney? Because she is not talking, and her voice was." But after 3 shows, she did her thing. You can't listen. You can't shut up.
Tell the story. Tell the story. What did you do? You had lunch with me, and what did you say to me?
Do what you do in the courtroom. I said, I hear you're a good attorney. You're not even seeing people. Just talk. We'll be back
Desiree
on
even loves
Friday.
Allan, so we must have a low bar on this if she loves all of us and Allan. So
Yeah. Oh, I want to
She
thank you,
separated Allan
Vanessa,
out. And where were you,
Jim?
Karen? Good to see you. Go ahead.
Jim, Allan, and I guess, what was I guess, Allan?
Suzanna Shkreli.
Shkreli.
I think the K.
Okay. And thank you, Teresa, and thanks to all the people. We'll be back on Friday. This is Detroit in Black and White. Thank you very much.